Tuesday, the 8th of April 2025, a brief video on the current situation. Trump's shock, he's the whole talk of everywhere. Now, bear in mind that, for years, those who are newcomers to this site, I've been preaching about the whole idea of deindustrializing America, Britain, and Europe. I couldn't understand why it was happening or where the idiots that were doing it were. People voted for Greens. In the last election, nobody voted for a party I was a member of. I'm a member of still. They're a Freedom Party, which would redo industrialisation. Ireland has some good industries. McHale Engineering does great balers and farm equipment. Kingspan, say, gypsum industries, several others. Great food production as well. But I couldn't understand why they let the metalwork and all that drop. And of course, it was this climate change stuff. And it was this thing about putting women in charge of everything. Oh, woman got the job. Oh. The woman needs to be as equally minded as the man. She needs to have conservative, sensible views. But when the wrong women get a grip on power, it's all flower gardens and we're the garden and Europe and the rest of the world is a jungle and all this nonsense. And this is what you had. And then the climate changers and Greta Thunberg, a school dropout from Sweden, was allowed to make policy for the whole world. She's off now roaring about Gaza. So when people get stupid, they drop their guard and it takes a while for the effects to click in. As deindustrialization took place in Europe and America, industrialization grew big time in places like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, China. And so they began to take up the slack. Now, Europe's rule was that if it's made outside Europe, it's carbon free. Ireland's rule is if electricity is made in Wales, it's carbon free when it comes into Ireland, even though it's made from coal in Wales. And America's view under the Democrats was exactly the same. And so jobs in the industrial sector began to be lost. Are there really any British cars made? I'd say half of Rolls-Royce is made in Europe, in Germany probably. I'd say most of the Leyland could be probably made there as well. You'll find there's Bosch alternators and starters and all that. And so it used to be Lucas, a great British company. Look at the vices you get to buy now, they're all made abroad. Why? They closed down the last blast furnace in Britain a week ago. And this is supposed to be, hooray! Oh, we're green. We closed down the last blast furnace making steel. So the working people of Britain tried to vote this out. But they couldn't because the Conservative Tory party were only Conservative in name only. Sinos, Conservatives in name only. They were mad, green, woke. In America, the Democratic Party was Democratic. They were green, mad, green, woke. And only for Donald Trump was a unique individual. They put a president. And despite all the efforts to stop him, and you see they're trying to stop Marine Le Pen in Europe, they will hold on to this green woke stuff to their deathbed. But Trump, some or other, beat them. And now you have him in charge of America. And he won the election because the ordinary farmer, the ordinary voter, all felt he was time to kick ass and tell the world where to get off. You're ripping us off no more. The whole world is built on a mountain of debt. $33 trillion in the case of America. I explained before how debt's created. Banks can produce money out of nothing and hand it out to anyone as loans, including the government, including industry, including every wacky idea. And in the United States, it was being given to buy condoms for Gaza, and it was being given to do homosexual training against the wishes of the Ugandan government and several other of these woke causes, using printed money. And Debt created out of nothing. That's how it used to be. They had to have a fractional reserve. Now they simply, you get a loan, they print it, and as you pay back, they take it away. Of course, they never pay it back, and government never pays it back. And then that was it. Then the rest of the world began to make goods, and they began to buy US bonds and treasuries to keep the US government going. That is unsustainable. That is not sustainable. And the horror in RTE and the BBC and the European Union, oh, Trump is a monster, ignores the fact that financially in the long term that doesn't work. You hear the biddies on there, oh, damn this and damn that. Oh, we do a lot of services in England. What are services? Only handling the money that's made by physical work. Yes, Ireland and Britain and other countries are coming on in the information technology sector, and that may change things a lot. But that doesn't mean we hand everything away before the time is due. Are you with me now? So it's all this green and globalism. What harm it has made in China, a communist country that persecutes Christians and Muslims. It doesn't matter. Once it's made, it's all right. Unfortunately, that's not the case. That creates a balance of payments deficit. That means that those countries have high dollars and America has no dollars. America has to borrow dollars when it should be creating the dollars at home in America, making cars. You get the point. So the day had to come when either the whole thing collapsed because the debt was unsustainable and nobody would lend anymore, the facility for the central banks to make money out of nothing they would never get it back and became unsustainable. Or governments had to decide, we're going to fix our own economy, we're going to build our own way of making things, we're going to put our country first. And the people of America felt that was the case, and they voted for Trump, warts and all. The people of Ireland should have felt that. When the Freedom Party and the National Party were put before them as candidates last November, they should have voted en masse for them. Because there was still going to be enough wouldn't. But you would have a few DTDs in there, a few politicians that could speak up for the working people. But the working people voted Fianna Fáil. Niamh Smith didn't even have to come to the count. She's above in Dublin and she's in charge of information technology and she doesn't have a clue. She admits she doesn't have a clue. That's what the people of Cavan Monaghan did. And they voted for Sinn Féin because they think they're going to get a united Ireland. And Sinn Féin is more communist than China. And they voted for David Maxwell. We haven't heard a word out of him since. So there you have it. In other parts of the country, it was the same. Kieran Mullooly. Oh, I saw him on the telly. Oh my God, he's a great one now. Not a meg out of him either. Not a word out of him. So that's what happened in Ireland. The Irish, I claim, could never be fixed. I'd say we'd have been independent 200 years before, in 1922, had we had the population on our side. Although in 1918 they did vote 73% for the Irish side, possibly based on religion things. The UK, for all its faults and all, it had a lovely economy, a lovely sporting thing. It had hunting, it had fishing, it had all of these sports, and then it had its industrial sector. And Tony Blair banned hunting, and he banned everything, and they banned this and banned that, and they'll ban fishing yet, and ban anything that gets people out in the air and away from their basements. The result is you have keyboard warriors like Joe Hayes on here and Cork Onion and these fellas who are sitting in the side of their basement, in their parents' basement, printed away on false videos. So that is the story, whether we like it or not. They tried to change a man's world with the woman as the partner, like Adam and Eve, and they wanted a totally different world to a unisex world where men and women could get married and men could have babies, and if they can't have babies, someone else will have the baby for them and they get a big state grant. Abortion on demand, abortion clinic opened in Cavan recently, and off you go. This is what they wanted. And then, now, Trump's not threatening to invade anybody in Europe. He merely says you'll have to pay tariffs. You have a trade imbalance. They were robbing the United States. Now they're going around like headless chickens. that don't know what to do. Starmer thought, oh, the Ukraine. What the hell is the Ukraine to do with him? Why is he sickened about the Ukraine? Oh, Russia invaded. Oh, we can't have that. Russia is a conservative country, like America. So there's Starmer's whole world under threat. He admitted the other day that the globalist world was gone. Why did he want a globalist world? Now, I'm not against making slippers and things in China, a little bit of it. But you can't get a decent lathe made anywhere. Emco, a great lathe manufacturer for small lathes in Austria, has closed. There's Cabello, I think it's Cabela in Germany, very hard to get. They're all made in China and Taiwan. America's not making them. And long ago, Taiwan was good quality and China was poor. Now China's coming up a bit. But the electronics will give you misery in due course. So, now they're seeing what are they going to do. Well, for a first thing, if they ever cared about the economy, why are they panicking? Why is Starmer panicking about the British economy? Sure, he tried to kill it anyway. He closed down the Port Talbot and Scunthorpe steelworks. Oh, what's the problem? And now what he wants to stop the emission of CO2. So close it. What's the big problem? Oh, service. Oh, we have service-based industries. Insurance. He probably realises that's not sustainable. And then the Germans and Ursula von der Leyen and all of these. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, there's tariffs. Oh, we're not going to be able to suck off the USA. I thought they were billionaires. They were going to look after us. So, as Zelensky was trotted round, and him a big a rogue and corrupt villain as they are, and that's why they love Zelensky, because in their world you promise your voter enough to get election and you change when you get into power. Trump promised his voters certain things and he's going all out to deliver exactly as he promised. And they can't take that because they have the political system rigged in that way. But that would not work if voters in Ireland, Britain and Europe voted against them. Even though in Germany they wouldn't let the ADF in to power, still you can vote en masse. Marine Le Pen is kept out. Everyone knows she's winning in popularity. Well, some plan will be put in a replacement. The whole French people should vote 100% for that party. Then the other party would be out. Meloni is in power in Italy and she's doing a hellish good job, a real good job, and tackling migration. Viktor Orban is on the go in Hungary, and you have Fico in Slovakia. So why are the ordinary people given any votes to the lefties? What do they need to see that they've been led up the garden path and now they're afraid of Russia? And now that the enormity of their mistake on industry is apparent, they want to start a war to divert attention away from their hapless management. So they thought up until early this year that the war would get support from the United States. They thought Trump would do what every other leader did, is lie to his people, get elected, and then lie down with them. Then they got the shock. They went over Starmer, Macron, and what do you call him? Green jacket, Zelensky. And they thought they were going to persuade the Donald. And they were making one big mistake, and the Donald wasn't ashamed to pull Zelensky in front of the cameras and wipe the floor with him. He didn't know what to do with himself when he went outside the White House. It all backfired. Then they realised they had it go it alone. So now they're going to lift the savings of everyone in the EU. That'll put a queer puss on the Sinn Féin and the Fianna Fáil and the Fine Gaelers. And their savings is gone. They get bonds. Right? The next thing then was, in the middle of this, and within a week, the Trump landed the Rose Garden tariffs, Liberation Day. So not alone had to accommodate with the fact that he wasn't going to back them up when they went into Ukraine, he wasn't going to be lured into a war against Russia. Then they realised they were on their own. So we'll have a coalition of the willing, boots on the ground from left-wing communist, LBGPQ, woke, jailing people for praying outside abortion clinics, jailing people for praying in their homes near abortion clinics. We're going to do something about this, Russians. And he flies over to Macron, little Napoleon, and he's going to do the same. And the Germans are half-hearted about it. They all knew from bitter experience the Germans must never be let have an army outside their own home. That was the rule. And now the Germans are trying to get an army to conquer the world. And the next thing it'll be Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Lick the blood with the moustache on him here and a peaky cap. That's the next thing they'll have. I made a video before in which I said Europe is afraid of its own members more than it's afraid of Russia. And in the middle of this, and within a week, Donald clamps the tariffs on them and threatens to bring the balance of trade between the whole world and the United States back into line. Trump cannot back down. If Trump backs down, his whole reason to exist, raison d'être, is that what you call it, is gone. The lefties will have a field day. He has to stick with this. He has bet everything on it. How it'll go, we're not so sure. The talk about a recession, baloney. They can print money still. Certainly, Donald Trump and the Federal Reserve is going to have to print money. I won't predict the future entirely. But the pathetic nature of the European Union and Keir Starmer has been exposed. As well as that, by doing what he's done, Trump has finished any idea of Starmer rejoining Europe. Because Europe has a 10% tariff forgive me please for that. Britain has a 10% tariff and Europe has a 20% tariff. I'd say that's no accident. To say he's a fool, I'd say that's no accident. So if Starmer wants to rejoin the EU, he's going to have to rejoin a unit with 20% tariffs, whereas his own country only has 10% tariffs. Scotch whisky, I think, is 1/4 of the UK's exports. I think that's it. Don't hold, it's a big thing anyway. The amount of barrels aging on Scotch whisky would stretch from Perth in Australia to Perth in Australia. And they're exporting that everywhere, including the United States. If that were to get a blow, it would be bad. So it's only 10%. So it means that a bottle of Scotch costing $40 will now be $45. So it's still affordable for UK, whereas it'll be $50 for Ireland and Europe. You see, so it'll be hard for Starmer to get back into the EU because there's a difference in the two tariff regimes. And then they say Trump is an idiot. Pull the other one. So it's great to see. He's shaking them up. They're being exposed. Now they're talking about buy British. Remember when I was young, buy Irish. Then the EU came in, they outlawed that. Buy European. Then the next thing it was globalism. Buy from China. The next thing is now, it's going back now, buy British, buy Irish, buy European. This is the crap they're at. Why am I supposed to change according to these stupid idiots? They control the voter through RTE and BBC and all of that, and voters will probably never change. Never change. So they'll be changed by force, whether they like it or not. And nothing has collapsed yet. I don't know what's going to happen, but nothing has collapsed yet. But there could be a bigger collapse in Europe and Ireland and Britain than there is in America. But if you have a good industrial base, supplying farm machinery, mining equipment, what can a recession do to you? If you're supplying special drills, as they were down in County Clare, for deep hole drilling, recess away all you like. You're able to supply the service. People will need houses. So people will need food. Beef prices never were as high in Ireland. So how will a recession work there? The fact is, banks are holding vast amount of money on their books they loaned out for stupid purposes. And I'll finish my video now on 20 minutes with the green agenda. It's the green agenda that'll crack it. I see green quote was 70 cent yesterday, it's 72% today per windmills. Yet there's banks investing in new wind farms, giving 100% a share, and people investing at 100 cents a share in new wind farms and new solar. And you can buy green coal renewables at 70 cents yesterday. Why would you buy shares in a new company at 100 when you can buy existing up and running companies with planning and all got for 70%? That type of idiocy is going to come back to haunt them. That's where it'll break. If there is a recession, it'll be that type. It'll be a recession in various locations. And it'll probably end the green nonsense. For, as I've said before, the windmills, the solar panels for electricity generation are a scam, not necessarily for other reasons. The electric cars are only a niche product. And there'll always be the use of fuel, and there's 400 years supply of fuel in the ground. What the climate does, they can do what they like. The Russians, the Americans, the Chinese, and all of these have no regard for CO2 emissions at all. The EU was cheating, the American Democrats were cheating, the Irish government's cheating, and the British are cheating. They're saying that if it's made abroad, it has no carbon footprint, which is a downright lie. And when you base your house on and build your house on a bad foundation and on a lie that the concrete in the blocks is good, when it's actually that stuff up in Donegal, that micro stuff, that's not good, you're going to have problems into the future. You can't beat a bit of planning. Fail to plan, and you plan to fail. Comment underneath. We'll see you back for something else. Time to get out. Happy, good enough with that video. It's all an evolving situation. 50 countries have got in touch with America to see can they bring back fair trade. And if fair trade comes back right over the world, it might suit everybody. Some accommodation might be reached. You might get a situation where the Americans might say, we leave the production of children's and sports footwear to foreigners, but we'll make our own high quality boots and shoes here. Now, somebody made the point there about what is produced in America. Briggs and Stratton engines is one. There are some things, Boeing jets, well, I know that, are produced in America. There are some things, but it's prohibitively expensive to take them in. We know that Canada enforces a 250% tariff on butter and timber. What is it in Europe? We'll get to that in due course. I'll do some homework on that. So apparently lots of countries have huge tariffs against the United States. And you can see it here. Some man says that he bought an American electric fence. I think I have an old one. And good quality. You can see it here. They've deliberately frozen out the United States out of the markets. We don't have the choice. Go down to the farm centre, supplying all the farm equipment, the welding rods and the masks and all that. There's nothing made in America. And that's because they put it out. So hopefully now, slowly but surely, that will change. And we'll get back to seeing American and European, Irish and British products. The old record vices and all the great British tools, you can't get them anymore. The British vice grips. Britain was a hive of industrial activity up until about 30 years ago. And they had books, and I used to go to exhibitions over there, and they were great people for that sort of stuff. And they've driven it out by these cursed, fake environmental governments that have failed and are on the ropes, and that's the place to have them. We'll see you back for something else soon. My mouth's getting a bit dry and my water's not here. We'll see you back soon. Thank you very much. Comment underneath.